I'm Cora, 35 years old, a software engineer living in Oregon. For most of my life, I believed in the word family, so much so that I once told myself I could endure anything as long as it meant helping loved ones through tough times. But no one warned me that when you're always the one reaching out first, eventually they'll assume it's your duty. It all started 11 months ago when my younger sister, Ellie, 29, and her husband, Greg, asked to stay at my house. Greg had just lost his job, and Ellie had abruptly quit her position as an office assistant after a conflict with her boss. They said they'd only stay for a few months while saving up to put a down payment on a small condo outside Salem. I believed them. I believed in the idea that sisters show up when one is struggling. I lived alone in a 3-bedroom house that I bought after more than 10 years of relentless work and saving. One room was my home office, one for guests, and the other my bedroom. I rearranged everything to give Ellie and Greg the entire lower level. They had their own room, private bathroom, and even a side entrance that led to the backyard. I set the rent at just $600 a month, half the market rate. Enough to help with utilities, but not enough to make them feel pressured. "We just need a few months, sis," Ellie said as she rolled her suitcase in. "We'll be back on our feet soon, I swear." I smiled, hugged her tightly. "You'll have everything you need here. Just be respectful of the space, that's all I ask." At first, things seemed fine, but it didn't take long before their promises thinned out like weak coffee. Greg started freelancing, or so he said. In reality, he played video games and streamed online all day. Ellie spent most of her time scrolling TikTok, posting stories about her relaxed lifestyle, claiming she was still figuring out what kind of job aligned better with her mental health. I'd come home after 8 hours of meetings only to find dirty dishes stacked in the sink, cooking oil splattered across the counter like motor grease. My $300 blender had been taken apart and not put back together properly. Greg had burned a frozen pizza in my oven and left the place reeking of smoke. I had tried to mention things gently. "Greg, could you please rinse the blender after using it? It's a specialty model. I had to order it from San Francisco." Greg shrugged without looking up. "Cora, don't be so uptight. This is a home, not a showroom. We're family, right?" I gave a strained smile, but something inside me began to crack. Then they started inviting friends over. One night, I walked in at 10 p.m. to find 2 strangers lounging on the newly reupholstered sofa I'd paid for last month. Greg had a beer in one hand and the remote in the other. "Oh, hey, you're back. We're just watching the NFL." When I asked them to limit having guests on weeknights, Ellie looked at me like I'd ruined "Seriously, sis, you need to relax. Why so intense all the time? It's a home, not a corporation. You're not the CEO here." I paid to repair the HVAC system after Greg caused an electrical short installing unauthorized Bluetooth speakers. I also covered last month's utility bill, over $200, because they accidentally left the heat running 24/7 for a full week. One evening, I casually mentioned at dinner that I'd received a quarterly bonus, $4,000, for finishing a difficult project ahead of schedule. Greg laughed. "Nice, maybe we'll stick around a few more months. Who needs rent when you've got a big sis like Cora footing the bill?" That comment, half joking, half blunt, was the turning point for me. I realized they no longer saw me as a sister lending a hand. I had become an unlimited, unpaid sponsor. And the worst part, they had absolutely no intention of leaving. One early December evening, with the cold rain starting to fall, I left work earlier than usual. My last meeting got canceled. I stopped by the bakery near my place to pick up some sugar-dusted ginger cookies and a new bag of coffee. In my head, I had already painted the evening, a latte in hand, a cozy blanket, fireplace glowing. But as soon as I opened the door, laughter floated up from the downstairs level. Ellie's voice, Greg's, and my mom, Miranda, excitedly saying, "The chalet even has a private sauna, Ellie, and there's a ski trail that runs right through the pine forest. We really leveled up this year, didn't we?" I froze in place, still holding the paper bag. A chalet? A sauna? Skiing? I slowly stepped down the stairs and stopped at the basement living room door. Ellie was curled up on the armchair, glowing with excitement, while Greg lounged across the sofa, holding a glass of red wine, my Christmas bottle I had set aside. Your dad already booked everything, my mom went on. Idaho's been getting snow early this year, should be a perfect white Christmas. There's even a dog sled tour if you want to try it. I barely heard anything past Idaho. My family always went to Vermont for the holidays. A tiny, warm cabin in the woods, where we'd play board games, make hot cocoa, and argue over whose cranberry jam was better. I'd requested time off 2 months ago, turning down 3 conference invites just to be there, like every year. Idaho? I stepped into the room, keeping my voice steady. Mom, I thought we were still going to Vermont. The room fell into a vacuum of silence. My mom placed her tea gently on the table. Ellie glanced at Greg, then at me, her expression tight, like I'd just ruined everyone's good time. You're home early. I thought you had late meetings. I asked again, why didn't anyone tell me the plans changed? Mom gave a stiff smile. Sweetheart, I was going to call you this weekend. The Idaho resort only got confirmed a few days ago. Greg cut in casually. Didn't we book it back in October? I remember 'cause Ellie and I chose the room with a lake view. The cold outside felt like it had seeped through my bones. I turned to Ellie. So, everyone knew. Except me? She shrugged, feigning innocence. You're always busy with deadlines. I thought you'd be glad to just relax for once. I looked at Mom. And you thought the best way to let me relax was to exclude me from the holiday? Like, her tone sharpened. Don't overreact, Cora. You always have to be in control. What time we eat, how the turkey's seasoned. Your dad and I just thought, maybe we try something different this year. I fought to keep my voice from shaking. Who booked the cabin for the past 8 years? Who planned the menu, the playlists, wrapped all the gifts? And this year, I don't even get an invite. Greg sighed and stood up. Cora, honestly, you're too successful and too intense. Everyone's tired of putting on this perfect family act to fit your schedule. This year, we just want Christmas to be fun. Right then, it hit me. This wasn't some last-minute plan. They had discussed it, agreed, and chose to leave me out. Cleanly, quietly, without a shred of hesitation. I walked out without saying another word. From the kitchen, I heard Mom whisper, "She'll be fine. Cora always lands on her feet." As my bedroom door shut behind me, I set the cookie bag on the desk and sank onto the bed. My heart didn't shatter. It just emptied out. A familiar feeling I thought I had mastered, but this time felt different. I had lived for them. Built a home where Ellie could feel safe. A holiday space for Mom and Dad to escape to, a reason to keep calling ourselves family. And they chose to leave me behind, silently, together, without a second thought. I still remember exactly how I felt waking up the next morning. It wasn't pain or even anger, just a strange kind of clarity, like I had stepped out of a long dream I once mistook for reality. I sat up and looked around the room I used to call home. It now felt more like storage for things I didn't want to face. The kitchen calendar had December 23rd circled in red ink with a messy note. Prep cookies, order turkey, finalize Christmas playlist. I'd written that myself. Written it thinking I was helping create another perfect family holiday. For the past 2 months, I had been preparing in silence. Even bought burgundy pillow covers to match the custom table runner I ordered on Etsy. Just a week ago, I emailed Mom asking if anyone was going vegetarian this year so I could plan the menu. She replied, "I'll ask and let you know." No one followed up. And me? I kept believing things were as they always were, believing they were busy, believing I was still the heart of this family. I opened the storage closet and pulled out the bottom drawer. Carefully wrapped gifts sat in neat rows. A sweater for Mom, a green silk scarf for Ellie, her favorite color, and even that remote-controlled dinosaur Greg once joked about wanting just for display. I'd ordered it on Black Friday to make sure it arrived early enough for perfect wrapping. I touched each one, my fingers brushing against the little tags I'd handwritten. For Mom, may your back hurt less this year. For Ellie, to keep your neck warm and your head even warmer. I'd written those lines, thinking I was doing the right thing. And while I was curling ribbons and tying bows, somewhere across the state, they had booked a resort, confirmed flights, made plans, without me. I stepped into the kitchen. On the table lay a receipt from REI, almost $800 for ski gear. Shipping address, my house. Order date, October 17th. 2 months ago. The same week I took Greg to meet a friend at my tech firm to help him get a job referral. I picked up the receipt, stared at the number, and laughed. A dry, brittle sound even I barely recognized. I had been covering most of the household expenses, and they'd use that money to prepare a trip I was never meant to join. My phone buzzed, a message from Mom. Cora, have you reconsidered? I don't want you to feel excluded, but Ellie really needs space. This trip will help her relax. I hope you'll be mature enough not to make this a big deal. I typed back. For the past 2 months, while I thought I was planning our holiday, all of you were planning yours without me. At the very least, be mature enough to admit that was intentional. I didn't send it. I deleted it. Maybe because I finally knew. I didn't need them to understand. They didn't think they did anything wrong. They thought I was just overreacting, too intense, controlling. In their minds, I wasn't a sister, a daughter, I was a holiday coordinator. And the coordinator's time was up. That night, I FaceTimed Maya, my best friend since college. She was at home in Seattle, glowing Christmas lights twinkling behind her. I didn't explain much, just said, my family's going on a Christmas vacation without me, and they've been hiding it for 2 months. Maya didn't ask why. She simply said, you okay? I stayed quiet. Do you want to come stay with us for a few days? Ethan's here. We just got a new sofa bed. Swear, it's ridiculously soft. I shook my head and smiled. Thanks, but I think I need a few days in my own space to clean some things out, not just stuff. Maya nodded. You know what, Cora? They lost an organizer, but you just found yourself. Worth it. I ended the call and stepped out to the balcony. Snow had started falling gently. This year there'd be no Vermont cabin, no noisy family dinners, no Greg jokes or Mom's always burnt pudding. But I knew this Christmas would be the first I spent not for them, but for me. 2 days after my conversation with Maya, just when I thought things were clear enough for my family to quietly finish planning their Cora-free getaway, they took a step none of us saw coming. It was Saturday night. I had just wrapped up a late online meeting with a European client. The clock on my screen read 9:14 p.m. I left my desk and hadn't even changed out of my hoodie when I heard laughter echoing downstairs. I frowned. My first thought was that Greg had invited friends over for beers again without telling me, but when I came down the stairs and turned the corner into the living room, I froze. The room was packed. Twinkle lights wrapped around the windows, and a 7-foot fake tree stood lit in the corner. Silver and gold ornaments reflected candlelight across the space. Near the fireplace, a rustic wooden sign read, "Let the Colorado adventure begin." My mother was by the snack table, holding a champagne flute. My dad, Charles, was laughing with 2 old friends. Ellie spun in a glittery red dress, showing off a fur stole I hadn't seen before. Greg was pouring bourbon into one of my crystal glasses. For a man I'd never met. They were throwing a farewell party in my house. I wasn't invited. I wasn't even told. None of them, not Ellie, not my mother, saw anything wrong. I stood at the entrance, my hand gripping the doorframe. Slowly, eyes turned. The laughter faded. Silence swept through like a cold draft. My mom approached first, speaking in that soft tone people use with stubborn children. Cora, I thought you were working upstairs. We'll clean everything up after, don't worry. I looked at her, then scanned the crowd. Nearly half were strangers, eating on my carpet, drinking from my glasses, standing under the roof I paid for. A farewell party? My voice was low, hoarse from swallowed rage. In my house? For a trip I was deliberately excluded from? Greg scoffed. Don't be dramatic, Cora. We just wanted some holiday spirit. You're being a little sensitive. I clenched my fists, stepping into the room. So it's normal to throw a send-off party in the home of the one person you purposely left out? Ellie looked up, narrowing her eyes. Cora, I get that you're upset, but not everything's about you. People just want to have a good night, okay? I turned to my mom. You're okay with this? Changing plans in secret? Keeping me in the dark, then using my house for the party? My father said nothing. He never did when things got tense. He always chose to hide behind a glass of something. My mother sighed, her voice dipping into that familiar tone of controlled annoyance. You're making this heavier than it needs to be. Everyone's just trying to relax. Don't ruin the evening. Then, from the snack table, I heard a voice. Aunt Angie, one of Mom's closest friends. I think Cora's being a bit much. People went to all this trouble. Can't you just be gracious? Gracious? To the people who hijacked my home and made it a celebration of my exclusion? I didn't respond. I walked straight to the speaker and yanked the cord out. The music died instantly. Whispers started. Greg came closer, sarcasm thick in his voice. Cora, you really want to ruin your family's party over hurt feelings? Grow up. I stared at him. No, I'm ruining a party thrown by people who've been using me. Big difference. No one had anything to say after that. I stood in a room full of relatives and felt completely stripped, like I was in a stranger's house, not my own. Their silence said it all. They didn't believe I had the right to be angry. I was supposed to be quiet, grateful. Keep giving. I took a deep breath. Everyone, please leave my home in the next 20 minutes. Anyone still here after that, I will call the police for trespassing. This is not a bluff. My mother blinked, stunned. You can't be serious. I absolutely am. I turned and walked upstairs. I didn't wait for their response. But I heard the shuffle of jackets being grabbed, quiet mutters of, she's gone crazy, each word settling in my chest like a stinging layer of dust. That night, I cleaned up every trace of the party. I took down the lights, gathered ribbon scraps, tossed every paper plate and crumpled napkin into trash bags. By the time I wiped up the spilled bourbon from my table, my hands were shaking, either from the cold or fury. I couldn't tell which. The next morning, I sat by the kitchen window, holding a cold cup of coffee, my eyes fixed on the wine stains still soaking into the carpet. Last night, I had stuffed all the trash from that farewell party into 3 large bags, dragged them out back, and tossed them into the bin myself. I didn't sleep, not because it was loud, but because my mind kept replaying the same ticker tape. I've let them push too far for too long. I grabbed my phone and typed a single line to Maya. I need Ethan. 10 minutes later, the phone rang. Maya didn't ask questions. She simply said, we'll be there in an hour. Have everything ready. Today is the cleanup day. I didn't need to ask what cleanup. Ethan, Maya's boyfriend, is a real estate attorney at a law firm in Portland. He'd helped me review the paperwork when I bought this house 3 years ago, and now he was going to help me reclaim it. By the time they arrived, I had printed copies of my mortgage statements, utility bills in my name, and even scattered messages Ellie had sent me when she first moved in. Lines like, "You're a lifesaver. I promise this is just for a few months. Now, useful as evidence." Ethan reviewed everything and nodded. There is no formal lease, so Ellie and Greg are considered month-to-month tenants. Cora, you have every right to issue a notice to vacate. Under Oregon law, all it takes is 30 days' notice. What about changing the locks? I asked. Ethan exchanged a look with Maya before replying. You can't change the locks while they're still residing in the home, but if you're sure they'll be out all day, you can change them in their absence and leave the necessary items and a legal notice somewhere visible. Just make sure not to hold or discard any of their belongings. Maya jumped in, her tone sharp. They've treated your home like a free hotel for almost a year. Time to take your space back. The plan was mapped out with military precision. They were going skiing and shopping the next day. Ellie had even posted about it online. I would strike then. Maya and I divided the rooms. I handled the bedroom, she tackled the bathroom, rounding up toothbrushes, cosmetics, and spa-like clutter Ellie had spread around. Ethan drafted the official notice of termination, clearly stating the 30-day window, the move-out deadline, and how to retrieve remaining items. I placed 2 suitcases of their essentials on the front porch and covered them with a tarp in case of rain. On top, I taped the notice. Beneath it, a handwritten note from me, brief and final. This is my home, and from today, it is no longer a place for others to abuse kindness. The locksmith arrived right on time. I had all 3 main locks changed, including the keypad on the back door. When he asked why, I replied with just one sentence. Taking back control of my life? As soon as the new locks clicked into place, my phone started buzzing, non-stop. Ellie was calling. I didn't answer. Greg texted, "Have you gone crazy? We left for a few hours and you pulled this crap?" I replied with a photo of the notice and suitcases on the porch. 5 minutes later, my mom called. "Cora, what kind of nonsense is this? Ellie's pregnant. Do you even care?" I wasn't surprised. The final guilt card, family love. I heard you, but that doesn't change the fact that this is my house, and I choose freedom. I hung up. Maya handed me a cup of hot tea, her eyes soft, but not pitying. You just did what a lot of people don't dare to. Say enough. I stood by the window, staring at the small backyard where I once dreamed of placing a pair of Adirondack chairs to read in during retirement. Now I realized one thing. I don't need to wait for retirement to reclaim my peace. That night, I slept the deepest I had in months. No flip-flop dragging, no Greg's phone blasting music, no burnt popcorn from Ellie forgetting the microwave. Just me and silence. I had just wrapped up an online meeting when my phone started buzzing non-stop. 13 missed calls, 5 unread messages, and a stream of Facebook notifications, a platform I rarely checked. The first message was from Grace, my maternal cousin. I can't believe what Ellie just posted. What's going on? People are saying you kicked your pregnant sister out during Christmas. I opened the app, my heart pounding. On Ellie's profile was a long post accompanied by a photo of her standing in front of my house. Fake tears in her eyes, hands clutching her belly. The bolded caption read, "When your sister changes the locks and kicks you out during the holidays while you're pregnant." Below were over 300 comments, mostly from mutual friends, distant relatives, and longtime family acquaintances, all sharing the same sentiment. I can't believe Cora could be so heartless. Family is supposed to protect, not punish. She's always thought she was better than everyone. Now she's showing her true colors. I scrolled through the comments, feeling like I was being ripped apart. From the sister who raised her, I had just been redefined as a selfish, cold-hearted monster. Pregnant? No. Ellie had never said a word. Not during any of our arguments, not at the party, not while packing her things. She made it up. Greg had posted 2. His was shorter, but no less toxic. Kicked out without warning. The world should know the truth behind her successful sister mask. Attached was a photo of the notice I taped on the door, conveniently cropped to hide the header and the 30-day timeline. Viewers only saw. Has terminated occupancy effective today. As if I had thrown them out instantly into the snowstorm. I shook with anger. But what choked me more was when my mother, Miranda, shared both posts and added a short caption. We didn't raise our daughter to be like this. A bullet straight to the heart. No call, no text to ask what happened. Just a public alliance with a fabricated story, publicly shaming me to protect the daughter who leached off her sister, then betrayed her in every way. Maya called right after, her voice urgent. Cora, I saw everything. You are not to respond online, got it? No reacting, no posting. The calmer you stay, the less they can twist. But I can't let them paint me as a monster, I choked out. You don't have to argue publicly to prove you're decent. The people who care will come to you. Social media isn't a courtroom. I took a deep breath and nodded silently. An hour later, Ethan called. Cora, I've drafted the legal response in case they actually try to sue. This is classic emotional blackmail, but you followed every step by the book. Lock change while they were out, proper notice, essential belongings left accessible. It's all backed by photos. What about the pregnancy claim? I ask, voice hollow. No medical proof so far, and even if it's true, the law doesn't require you to provide free housing to a pregnant person without a lease. I slumped into my chair. The house still smelled of cinnamon candles and lemon disinfectant. Outside, a gentle rain fell. Beneath that rain, I knew Ellie's narrative was spreading, like ink on a paper towel. That evening, I got a message from Ms. Marcia, the widow next door. I often helped with trash and yard work. Cora, I saw the posts. I know you're a good person. I saw Greg loading up the car. They didn't look surprised. If you need someone to testify, I'm here. I smiled for the first time in 3 days. Maybe Maya was right. The truth doesn't have to scream to be seen. It just needs to stand firm. But I knew the fight wasn't over, and next time they might get dirtier. But this time I wasn't alone. I had Maya, Ethan, and most importantly, me. The version that doesn't stay silent anymore. I turned off my phone and unplugged the router. I needed a quiet night. 2 days after Ellie's post went viral on Facebook, I got an email from someone I never expected to hear from. Aunt Claire, my mom's youngest sister, now living in Eugene. The subject line was just one sentence. Cora, you weren't wrong. I opened it, and each word hit like fire against my chest. I saw Ellie's post, and your mother's reaction. I need you to know this isn't the first time a woman in our family was labeled as too tough, too independent, and turned into a scapegoat for someone weaker, but louder. I used to be that woman, and now I see it happening to you. I can't stay silent anymore. I read it over and over just to make sure I wasn't imagining it. I'd never been close to Aunt Claire. She lived far away, rarely came to family gatherings, usually just sent Thanksgiving cards. But now, these words touched something deep inside me, something even Maya couldn't quite reach, a shared memory of injustice passed down through generations of women. I replied almost instantly. 10 minutes later, Claire video called me. On screen was a woman in her 60s. Short silver hair, round glasses, and a backdrop full of books on psychology and family dynamics. Cora, I just need you to know you're not alone, she began. In 1987, I was kicked out of the house by your mother for refusing to be Ellie's unpaid babysitter. Know what she told me back then? Family means sacrifice, Claire. That word, sacrifice, has always been code in our family. But only for the women who earn money and dare to say no. I froze. I never heard Mom mention that. She wouldn't, Claire replied, not bitter, just coldly factual. Because in this family, if you push back, you're ungrateful. If you stay silent, you're well-behaved, but you did the right thing. And doing the right thing doesn't need applause to have value. We talked for nearly an hour. Claire told me things I'd never known, how my mom often played the reasonable victim, making others feel guilty for demanding fairness. Suddenly, my entire childhood rearranged like puzzle pieces. The way Mom looked disappointed when I won a major scholarship, but Ellie failed to get into college. Her sigh when I refused to buy them a new SUV because Ellie's having a baby. The constant comments like, "You're the strong one, so you need to carry more." That afternoon, I returned to the office, after nearly a week of working from home because of the family drama. As soon as I walked in, my coworker Rhonda waved me over. Cora, come here. You need to see this. She turned her laptop toward me. It was our internal work chat. A former coworker, who had gone to college with Ellie, had posted Ellie's accusation in the company thread, along with the caption, "I can't believe someone I used to admire could act like this." The responses came quickly, but not in the way I expected. Daniel, my team lead, wrote, "I've seen Cora skip 3 company parties to go care for her mom after a fall. I've seen her stay at the office until 9 p.m. doing someone else's job without saying a word. If you think she's cold-blooded, try working with her for a quarter." Barbara, the admin assistant and unofficial team mom, followed up. Being family doesn't give you the right to mistreat someone and call it love. Cora, if you need someone to speak for you during the staff meeting, I've got you. I was speechless. I had never felt so clearly protected. Not through tears, not through loud defenses, but through real respect from people who'd worked beside me, lived beside me. That same afternoon, I received a bouquet delivered to my desk. No sender name, just a small card. Everyone deserves boundaries. Thank you for teaching me that. From someone who used to think you were too rigid. It was from Grace, my cousin, who had initially believed the twisted version of the story online. I smiled and placed the bouquet on my desk. In my mind, I could still hear Aunt Claire's voice. Not everyone is ready to face the broken systems they were born into, but once they do, they'll never be the same again. December 24th. Light snow dusted the porch roof. I stood by the kitchen window, hands wrapped around a mug of hot cocoa, feeling oddly at peace. This was my first Christmas in nearly 15 years not cooking for a family gathering. No stressing over planning, no last-minute run for matching napkins, no wondering if my mother would sigh again that my dish lacked traditional flavor. I had ordered a small pecan pie from my favorite bakery. Maya had sent over a box of handmade chocolates, along with a handwritten card. This is the first year you chose yourself, and the first time I've seen you truly free. I had decided not to go home to my parents, not to reply to my mom's forced-sounding Merry Christmas text, not to listen to the usual half-hearted apologies like people make mistakes when they're too emotional. I wasn't emotional anymore. I was clear. A week earlier, Ellie had messaged me. A long paragraph, opening with, "You hurt me deeply, but I still hope one day we can be sisters again." I didn't respond. I didn't delete it either. I left it there, as a reminder. Forgiveness does not mean surrendering your boundaries. On Christmas afternoon, I wore a green sweater with silver lace trim, rewrapped 2 presents for Maya and Ethan, a cashmere scarf and a set of gold-edged notebooks. I drove to their home in the southern suburbs where their small house always glowed with warm lights and the scent of cookies floated down the block. Ethan opened the door, holding a tray of cookies. "Cora's here. We need someone who can tell real cinnamon from nutmeg." I laughed. "You just insulted the palate of someone who once made a 3-layer egg mousse for a family bigger than a football team." Maya hugged me from behind. "No one deserves the seat by the tree more than you this year. In that house, I wasn't the head chef, the planner, or the one holding together everyone's emotions. I was just Cora. And that was enough." Dinner was simple: garlic butter roast chicken, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie, and barley salad. No one fought over the chicken skin. No one said dessert wasn't sweet enough. No one whispered behind my back when I got up for more water. There was just soft jazz, warm conversation, and eyes that saw me without judgment. When I got home, I saw an envelope in the mailbox from Ethan's law office. It was a copy of the formal response they'd sent to Greg's side after their legal threats. I left it on the kitchen counter beside a scented candle. I didn't feel scared anymore. Not angry, either. Just light. Light like finally dropping a too heavy backpack after a long journey I never understood why I kept carrying. Late that night, I played instrumental music and hung up the ornament Aunt Claire had given me, my first piece in a new collection I had decided to start, Symbols of Choice. I knew life wouldn't magically become easy just because I set boundaries. Ellie might still play the victim, my mother might remain silent, or worse, keep curating the version of the story she wants people to believe. But I was no longer part of that story. I was no longer the silent sacrificer. I didn't owe anyone an explanation for choosing to protect myself. I was the one redrawing the lines, the one who stood in a house once filled with laughter but empty of love. The one who changed the locks, not to shut people out, but to hold on to myself. Tomorrow, I'll finally rearrange my office, turn it into the creative space I've been putting off. I ordered a new wooden desk, wall mount shelves, and a canvas painting I did last year, a bird soaring against a gray sky. free and unbothered by direction. Maybe that's the image I'll carry into the new year. And if one day Ellie truly wants to rebuild our relationship, she'll have to walk through a door opened by respect, not guilt. As for me, I won't be waiting. I'm busy living my own life for the first time, not following anyone else's script. Cora's story is a powerful reminder that kindness should never be treated as an obligation, and sacrifice doesn't mean giving without limits. In real life, far too many people, especially women, are expected to endure for the sake of family. But when compassion is exploited, setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-preservation. Because sometimes finding real peace means choosing yourself, even if it means walking away from those who share your blood. What do you think about Cora's decision? Was she being too harsh, or was she simply protecting herself? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt stories about family, boundaries, and self-worth.